Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having yourselves a great ending to your day and a great start to your work week out there. Got some things to talk about tonight, and the first thing we'll talk about is this first system. Then immediately behind it, there's going to be a second system. Both will have a chance to bring severe weather. The second one will bring more widespread severe weather to just more people in general, and really a 2-day event, which will be Wednesday and then for Thursday. So we're going to talk about that, but first we're going to talk about this first system. So we're going to try to get as in depth as we can when it comes to the severe weather side of it, but we are just outside of these short range models. So we really can't break down the storm mode that great right now, meaning what's going to be the evolution of this storm. When I say storm mode, meaning is this going to be more of a line of storms? Is it going to be like supercell in nature? Of course, when we're dealing with supercells, we're dealing with rotating thunderstorms, which means a more elevated tornado threat. But we're going to talk about what we do know. And for you folks who are going to be on the winter weather side of this, we're going to talk about you guys also. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I appreciate all the support, even when it's been kind of slow, especially here in the Southeast. I understand most of my audience is here in the Southeast, and there's just been no winter weather to talk about. Just absolutely nothing. So I appreciate people who continue to tune in regardless. It means the world, it really does. If you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it, and so others can do so too. I keep looking down at my recording area. My wife uses this computer to do some of her schooling stuff, and she has to rearrange stuff. So not sure if my camera angle is the same as it was this morning. So hopefully it is. But regardless, let's get rolling tonight so we can get on off of the rest of our evening. So we're done with the system that rolled through this weekend. We're completely over it. It's not really even showing up on the screen much anymore. It is delivering snow for Nova Scotia. Here's the little swirl up here as it heads off into the North Atlantic. This is our next system. And immediately behind it, there is another system trailing its behind very closely. But this first system will actually have a surface low that pops off the base of this kind of upper trough, if you will, that will actually be stronger than the surface low that comes off this digging shortwave or this digging mid to upper level trough that's going to swing through. So really, this will be the first storm we kind of talk about here. This will be the second right here, and both will have an associated piece of energy, if you will. But, things will get kick-started tonight. We'll already be dealing with some showers and maybe some storm activity. And then tomorrow we will have a cold core setup in regards to severe weather. And I'll talk about what that means here in a second. But look at watches and warnings. I mean, it is littered with it. There's all kinds of things going on. This teal blue color, that is winter storm watches. These winter storm watches up here are for the first system. These down here are for the second system. I know that's kind of weird, but it's just the way it's setting up. All these tan colors, that is wind advisories. With this first system, it's going to create a lot of strong winds because it's going to get a negative tilt to it, which means it's a stronger system. Normally creates a lot of winds at the surface. So you got a lot going on. You got some high wind warnings also going on here. You even got some wind issues that are going to be ongoing in the Tennessee side of the mountains here in the Smokies and the southern Appalachian Mountains over here. So you got a lot of winter storm warnings in areas of the Rockies and just the higher terrain out west, even freeze watches. Pretty wild along the California coastline. So it really tells you that just the cold air is out west and the warmer air is out east. And this has just continued to be the storm track over the last several weeks. Really, ever since we got rid of the Arctic air around Christmas time, this has been the dominant weather pattern since then. So it's pretty wild to think about. But moving forward here, we'll actually look at the Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow. This is expanded a little bit. There is a cold core setup, meaning you're lacking thermodynamics, surface temperatures, the humidity, things like that. You're lacking CAPE. It's there a little bit, just enough, but you're really lacking the thermodynamics needed for severe weather. But you do have the kinematics, so we'll be a little bit of a low-level jet, meaning there'll be winds about 5,000 feet up in the air that'll be turning with height, meaning that some of these storms, even though they'll be very fast moving, there'll be some fast moving storms out here that develop right here in northwestern sections of Missouri and then eastern sections of Kansas and even a very small section of southeastern Nebraska. It's a very small area, and these storms will be moving through this area very quick. You'll probably have a 1 to 3 hour window. But a lot of times these little setups produce tornadoes. A lot of times they do. So don't let your guard down if you're in the Kansas City area and surrounding towns and communities. These tend to produce, and this is for tomorrow. It's not going to be a tornado outbreak. It's going to be very quick. And really this marginal risk is driven off a 2% risk of a tornado. I know you're thinking that's not much, Mitch, but I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if this does produce a tornado tomorrow. There will be a little bit of a hail risk just because you will have a lot of cold air aloft with this system. Wind risk, about the same as hail, but it's all very small. But, you never know if your area is just going to get hit by a quick tornado. So please be aware up here. Moving forward into day 3, you have a slight risk of severe weather occurring. That is a level 2 out of 5. I mentioned this morning that this is downtrended, and it continues to be the case as this mid to upper level trough has really weakened. It's trended more weak, meaning it's going to actually maintain that positive trough. That positive tilt. We were thinking this could have more of a neutral to negative tilt maybe 2, 3, 4 days ago. This is actually downtrended, which is a good thing in the severe weather world because that means we're probably going to have less severe weather. But I don't want you all to let your guards down because a lot of times when we get inside these short-range model guidance, things uptrend and they pick up on more CAPE. And typically when we're like in a wintertime setup, there could be some kind of bias where, just these models are just not buying into any kind of high CAPE or just higher humidity, higher dew points in these kind of setups. But in general, don't let your guard down. For now, there's just a slight risk. This, includes from Dallas to Memphis and Jackson, Tennessee, Little Rock, right in the middle of this, Shreveport, Louisiana. You're also in this too. There's a marginal risk surrounding these areas too. One thing I'll note in Texas, basically on the western end of this severe weather risk area, the ingredients is certainly going to be there in Texas for some high-end severe weather, but you're going to have a cap in place, meaning it's an area of warm air aloft above your heads, well above your heads, several thousand feet up in the air. That area of warm air actually helps to limit updrafts. So it kind of chokes out these updrafts from building. So it limits storms. So you're going to have the ingredients for a lot of these areas in maybe Texas and Northeast Texas. But do you break the cap, which is we were talking about in February, but here we are. So there's a chance that you might not get any storms in Texas. But I'll talk about what I mean here in a second, because that doesn't mean we're not going to have storms. There's just a chance, that you might have a cap in place. But this is day 3. There's a slight risk of severe weather, level 2 out of 5. And this is basically a 15% risk to see severe weather within 25 miles in any given location. So we move to day 4. This has not changed much. We still just have a level 2 out of 5, which is a 15% risk to see severe weather within 25 miles in any given location. This massive area that stretches from Mobile, Alabama to Cleveland, Ohio. So what's going to happen here, guys? This is a tricky one, but I'm thinking that this is going to be more of a damaging wind threat. But we'll see what happens. I would almost guarantee you're at least going to have a 5% risk of a tornado that gets introduced somewhere in this here in the next 2 days when we get into the day 2 range. But we'll see what happens here. This is going to be the severe weather event. If I'm going to chase, it's going to be this event for Thursday, but I'm not sure if I'm going to chase it yet. I got a lot of time built up, and I want to just make sure I use it wisely for certain events. And I certainly want to save some for hurricane season as we approach that. But regardless, be aware, anybody in this yellow area, because listen, things are weird right now because it's just the way things are trending and not trending. It's certainly downtrending as of now, but what I'm saying as far as being weird is they can turn around and uptrend. So please be weather aware and stay up to date with the latest updates. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this first system, okay? I mean, this is in full range of the HRRR model. We're going to start this off later this evening. You got moisture quickly entering northern Texas, the panhandle of Oklahoma. This will start to enter Kansas and become more widespread in the North Texas and then Oklahoma. And then sometime, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning overnight, you're going to have a line of storms that develops in western areas of Oklahoma, even northern sections of Texas. This starts to move through areas like Wichita Falls. We'll start to knock on the door of Oklahoma City as you're waking up tomorrow morning. This will be a thin line of storms you see right here. And it won't produce much severe weather, but maybe some gusty winds for sure. And by the way, we're going to talk about the winds. And this continues, and we get into the day. And then basically this area that will have a chance of severe weather, you're going to get a lot of rain tomorrow morning. Okay, a lot of rain's going to blast throughout the morning hours. You're thinking, is this the severe weather? But it's really, once this low pressure moves to the north, okay, and a triple point is met, meaning it's basically where all these dynamics kind of max out at a triple point, your kinematics, thermodynamics, and just all the ingredients for severe weather meet at a certain point, and sometimes just south or just southeast of that triple point, that's where you can have your worst severe weather, especially when you have a strengthening system that's negatively tilted. So it's got that shrimp look to it that you're seeing right here, a jellyfish look. And here comes these storms right here developing in eastern areas of Kansas, right outside of Kansas City. These develop, and it's these little storms you watch out right into here that could produce a quick tornado sometime tomorrow afternoon in these areas of the country that I just mentioned. So we'll watch out for those. They can produce. Okay, at the same time, you got good old-fashioned rain moving into southern Minnesota, Iowa, and this backside comma head kind of structure associated with an upper level low, and then cold air is oozing in at the same time, and this is when the winter storm cranks up for areas of like northern to northwest sections of Minnesota, and then the eastern areas of the Dakotas. And listen, I wouldn't be surprised if they issue a blizzard warning for these areas, because you're going to have a lot of strong winds associated with this negatively tilted trough, this system that has that negative tilt, which is a strengthening system. So, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if some of these storms, sometime later tomorrow evening, move out of northern areas of Missouri and then move into northern sections of Illinois. And you can have certainly some lightning and thunder associated with this area convection right here. Wouldn't be surprised one bit. But this will be a quick hitting winter event for you areas up here in the Dakotas and Minnesota. And then this moves on off. And then our next system behind it sets up. And certainly if you're in areas of northern Wisconsin, and then northeast sections of Minnesota and the western areas of the UP of Michigan, you guys could end with a little bit of snow. That is certainly possible. Moving forward here, we'll look at winds. Okay, this is for tomorrow morning. Watch out as these winds really kick up. Here in North Texas, this is as you're getting into about 9, 10, 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. Look at these winds as this low pressure starts to really strengthen. I mean, just south of Amarillo, you're pushing 40 to 50, 60 mile per hour wind gust. You got an area of winds that are blasting through Arkansas tomorrow morning, Missouri, and these will continue to ride through areas of the Midwest. You're going to have a time frame of very strong winds tomorrow afternoon in the Quad States regions, basically where Missouri, Western Kentucky, Tennessee, basically these same areas that saw a lot of strong winds last week, you're going to have another period of strong winds again. So these are some quick moving strong systems that keeps creating strong winds. And then this moves through. We're getting into tomorrow evening. Watch out for some just gusty showers and storms in Illinois. But look, as this rain is turning to snow up here in areas of the Dakotas and western areas of Minnesota, the snow is going to be falling in this area. And you mix that with strong winds, and there's going to be some blizzard conditions up here very briefly for a time period up here in the northern plains in north central U.S. And then, an area of stronger winds will start to it'll start to simmer down a little bit up here as we're getting into tomorrow about midday. Wednesday about midday. So a lot of strong winds in the middle of the country, and that's why you have all these wind advisories and high wind warnings. So snowfall, I had somebody that, listens from Montana, which I really appreciate because I hardly ever mention you guys in Montana. Montana is a state that I will love, Wyoming too, that I would love to visit one day, I tell you that. But this is snowfall between now and Wednesday evening. You have, winter storm warnings up for the southern counties of Montana and these northern counties of Wyoming. So this is where they're expecting the heaviest snow, but you got winter weather advisories everywhere else. But check this out, several inches of snow could fall in the southern sections of Montana. Okay, but the northern sections of Montana might not get any snow. And then some of the snow will obviously make it into areas of the Dakotas. But if you look right into here, this is actually, let me get the north central U.S., and this is actually from this first system right here. Just a corridor, maybe 3 to 5, 6 inches of snow will set up from eastern South Dakota, southeast North Dakota into basically the northern sections of Minnesota. This will not be a hit for Minneapolis. In fact, I think Minneapolis will miss both storms. If you're a winter weather fan of Minneapolis, I think the first one will miss you to the north. Second system will miss you to the south. Just kind of one of those weird setups here. But listen, blizzard conditions will be possible in these areas just from this little bit of snow. But remember, blizzard conditions isn't, and I try to tell people this during the pre-Christmas blizzard that went through. I think everybody just thinks a blizzard means you're going to get feet of snow, but that's not the case. The criteria is has winds in it too, not just heavy snow. So it's actually driven more off the strong winds. But here comes our next system. So this system heads on out. Here comes our next system that pops off the Rockies. So I think it'll start snowing in Denver as early as late tomorrow night, and well, basically late tomorrow evening, late tomorrow night in Denver. Boulder, a lot of snow will begin to fall. Colorado Springs, and then it really cranks up Wednesday morning throughout the afternoon hours, and I think it'll begin to lighten up by the time we get into Wednesday evening, and then a corridor of snow will begin to enter areas of western Kansas as early as probably Wednesday about midday. Same thing in southern sections of Nebraska. I think if you're in southern Nebraska, you'll get more snow. Northern Nebraska might not get any, but I think this will be a quick hitting, moderate to maybe at times heavy snowfall late Wednesday into overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning for you folks in Kansas, really central Kansas to western Kansas. If you're in southeast Kansas, I don't think you're going to see much, but this could deliver a few inches of snow for Omaha, maybe several inches of snow, depends on how this trends. But it's a weird system where there's just going to be a corridor of moderate to heavy snow. I think Des Moines will be a city that gets hit probably sometime late Wednesday night into Thursday morning and lasting through all the way till Thursday afternoon. And then I think this will be a big hit potentially for southern sections of Wisconsin. But as of now, if you're looking at the Euro, this looks to remain mostly rain in Chicago with some backside frozen precipitation. And this could be a big winter storm for certain areas of central and northern Michigan. And we'll talk more on that when we know more. But this could be a big hit for you folks up here. If we can look at the Great Lakes region, I knew it was going to switch to 18Z. It always does that. But, you move forward here. Here it comes. This could be a pretty big winter storm for you folks sometime Thursday into Thursday night for you guys in Michigan and maybe even the UP of Michigan. Maybe even some icing right here as the surface low flies through. Could be a significant winter storm as this begins to strengthen somewhat for you folks in southeast Canada as we're getting into overnight Thursday into Friday. So we'll see what happens there. But the snowfall between this second system, this is the National Weather Service. This is the corridor of snow right here. I'll zoom into a couple states, Colorado being the first one. For you folks in and around the Denver area, maybe 5 to 8 inches of snow. You got to get down here into southern sections of Colorado, southeast Colorado, where you could get, anywhere from 6 to maybe as much as 10 inches of snow. You move over to Kansas. I really think this is going to be a decent hit for you folks in western Kansas. Even some accumulating snow in the panhandle of Oklahoma, even the far northern counties of the panhandle of Texas could see a few inches of snow. But for you folks in western Kansas, you guys are going to see several inches of snow, and there's going to be a cutoff that goes right through this area, right into here. And then we go up and look at Iowa. And, Omaha being right, make sure I'm not pointing right here in here, I believe somewhere. So Omaha, it's going to be close. You're going to want this thing to trend a little bit further north for you snow fans. But, Des Moines, a couple inches of snow, but just to your south, they're calling for more. And then we get into the Great Lakes region and for you guys. And let's see if we can go Great Lakes. And, man, that zoomed out a lot more than I wanted it to. But, as of now, just between now and Thursday evening, they already are calling for over a half a foot of snow in certain areas in northern Michigan. So I think it's still snowing at this rate, at this frame. So this isn't even the end of the snow. So the severe weather part, guys, the reason we have downtrended is this is the second system right here. You see how it's kind of going like this? It bows out this way. That is a positive tilt. If it was bowing out like that, straight down, neutral tilt, or if it was like this, that would be a negative tilt, which is a sign of a strengthening system. Instead, we have a positive tilted trough that remains positively tilted with a short wave right into here that ejects off the base of the trough. And this will help bring a lot of lots of low-level moisture into the Gulf states, Texas, all the way through the Carolinas. So with that, there's going to be a sector of ingredients for severe weather that pops off. But hopefully not as bad as we were thinking it was going to be maybe 3 or 4 days ago. But if you watch the trend of this, right, I'm going to back it up many runs. I back it up to this run right here. This is one of the biggest runs. You see how it has that Negative tilt right here. It looks like a huge surface low, and it was kind of like a bowling ball right here. This is when it was looking bad. But if we go all the way to the current run, bang, 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 here we go. It's more strung out, more positively tilted, and that means it's a weaker storm when it's strung out like that. So that's the good news. But regardless, this is going to pull up a lot of that low-level moisture out the Gulf, those higher dew points. And with higher dew points, you're going to have some convective available energy, basically CAPE, the storm fuel, basically fuel for these storms to really get fired up. So what's the interesting thing about this is, you'll go to sleep with some dry air in and around like the northern Texas area, northeast Texas. But look, as we're waking up to Wednesday morning, we take it all the way out to 48 hours from now. Well, 48 hours from the latest HRRR model, which takes us out to about lunchtime Wednesday. And look, high-end dew points are surging all the way up into southeast areas of Oklahoma. Dew points are beginning to rise even in Arkansas. But look at these sections of southeast and eastern Texas, all of Louisiana. Dew points have risen now at this point about midday Wednesday all the way into the 60s, and there will be some 70s also. Look at this pool of really moist air into the Gulf of Mexico into the 70s. And you got, moist air all the way back into Alabama and probably into Georgia too. But so one thing you'll notice if I click a sounding here south of or southeast of Dallas-Fort Worth area, okay, it says marginal torr. So, yes, you have a little bit of a looping hodograph right here. But one thing I want you to notice here, you got a lot of dry air right in here, which, when you have a lot of dry air aloft, that helps these updrafts to get going. But don't focus too much on that right now. Okay, surface temperature is 67 degrees. It's midday, so you still got probably another 5, maybe 6, 7 degrees to warm. Now, don't focus on the temperature at the surface. You see how they drop a little bit, and then at about 5, 6, 7,000 feet up, you have an area where the temperatures actually spike. Like I said, 6,000, 7,000 feet up. They actually go up. They climb. When they kind of go that way, that means they're climbing aloft. And then they start to sink. The temperatures start to go back down. That little area right here is the cap inversion that basically prevents updrafts. They hit this warm air aloft, and to make things short and simple for you guys, it chokes out these updrafts. These updrafts are trying to spin, they're trying to grow. They hit that warm air, and they're just like, nada. Nah, they don't want nothing to do with that warm air. I'll try to find a better way to explain it for you guys in the future. But in general, when you normally see temperatures go up like this, there's a little bit of a cap in place. So when does that cap erode? Well, if it erodes early on, you're going to have some explosive thunderstorm development in Texas. Regardless, it's going to break here in Arkansas, but you're lacking some more ingredients that you do have in Texas, but you're capped out in that area. So won't focus too much more on that. But in general, you get the idea, okay? And if you look at this and then you look at CAPE in response to all that low-level moisture that you got, and we look at that mixed layer CAPE right here, go all the way 48 hours out, and it's built, right? This is 48 hours out. This is midday Wednesday. You got CAPE levels already above 1,000 joules per kilogram down here in southeast Texas. So in response to all this low-level moisture building, these dew points rising well into the 60s, a lot of storm fuel is building into this area. You don't need a lot of CAPE when you have a lot of other parameters, a lot of other dynamics in place. Okay, you go on and move a little bit further east, if this will come up, and this is getting into Thursday. So at this point, the front begins to move quick. So this, one day you're pretty moist in Little Rock for your Wednesday into Wednesday night. Your dew points are in the 60s. You can feel the humidity in the air. Then by the time you're waking up Thursday morning, you go right back to those dew points that are like in the 30s and 20s, just that wintertime dry air. Okay? And here it comes. This is a moving moist sector, meaning it's collapsing fast. But ahead of it, dew points really spike. So this is around midday Thursday. Dew points well into the 60s for all of Alabama. Dew points into probably the low 60s as far north as maybe southern sections of the Ohio Valley. But this is moving quick. So normally when I see a moist sector that's moving this fast, where basically all this dry air, these are not temperatures, this is dew points, where all this dry air is collapsing this moist sector this fast, to me that screams a linear threat, which it tells me that you're probably going to have some kind of line of storms right into here. And this cold front is moving quick. It's not really slowing down. It could slow down. But still, one thing we will have to watch for as we get into these short-range models, do any supercells get fired up ahead of this line of storms? And it's the same thing with Wednesday too, but this is really one thing we'll watch for Thursday. Okay, so we'll certainly watch what happens. We'll click a sounding about midday Thursday, and it says marginal tour, but we need to get into them deeper into these short-range models, that's for sure. But the last frame of the NAM, which goes out 60 hours, it kind of gives us an idea of how this can unfold. I really think the Wednesday threat, will be an overnight threat, meaning I think it'll happen after the sun goes down. I think most of the storms will develop well after the sun goes down. For example, this is around 8 p.m. Central Time in Arkansas, Texas, areas of Oklahoma, Louisiana. This is right when the storms begin to develop. Okay, you start to get a lot of scattered convection, but nothing looks worrisome right now based off the latest NAM, but it is the long-range NAM. But as you're getting into about midnight, look at some of these storms really starting to fire up into here. And you got to argue, if this was to keep going, do we have some kind of line of storms that get going? So we'll continue to feed you guys good information. We'll continue to try to figure this out for you guys. But that's all I got. Tomorrow the video will be later because I have the soccer practice. I'll be coaching. So, but that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Love you all. Appreciate y'all. And I'll talk to you in the morning.